Hello and welcome back to the Villa Filler podcast. I'm here as always with my good friend Dan Wiseman. Dan, Sunday morning, this is probably going to go out the Monday, I'm thinking. But Villa have just beat Leeds 1-0. I know neither of us were awake to watch it, but the reaction afterwards has been quite entertaining, really. Watching Leeds fans have a complete meltdown. Villa have won both the pre-season games now. If you guys came here for analysis, you came for the wrong thing because it's pre-season and there's absolutely nothing to analyse whatsoever. But it's good that Villa got a win, mate.
Yes, absolutely, mate. It really is. I think results are as close to irrelevant in pre-season friendlies as they ever are in football. I don't think you can read too much into them. I think it's mostly about fitness, and it's a really interesting way to sort of gauge how Gerrard is figuring out his squad. I think it was a really nice run out for the likes of Abubakar Kamara and stuff like that. It's nice to see that he made a pretty promising time of it in the first half. Obviously, we went with two different 11s. Interesting that I believe Robin Olsen was in goal for the whole game.
Yeah, he was.
I don't think he changed over. But yeah, it was nice. It looks like we both formations we only played with one striker, and obviously this is something that we've spoken about previously, and that how is it going to work with one or two up front. It's interesting that in both halves we played with one striker. So I think that two up top, which obviously we toyed with last season, but both of us have said, mate, that we didn't think that playing a diamond with two strikers in front was how Gerrard wanted to line up his team. Seems like in pre-season he's nailing his colours to the bedpost, and he's saying, look, this is where we're going to be. We're playing that one up front. I think the 4-2-3-1 is the best way to get the most out of Villa. But yeah, it's very interesting, mate. And obviously there were nice run-outs for the likes of Aaron Ramsey, Freddie Gilbert. I really hope that there's a spot for Freddie Gilbert, mate. I'm liking his involvement. I think for me, I don't know what you think on this, mate, but does it make sense to shop around for that backup right back? I think Fred, as operating as Cash's deputy, I think that's fine.
Yeah, I want to like Gilbert more than I do. I think there's a lot to be said about a player who's tough in the tackle and communicates with the fans and doesn't really say anything wrong. And Gilbert does absolutely everything to kind of be on side with the Villa fans. And I don't have a problem with that. That's great. It's great to see him communicate and all this kind of stuff. But for me, if you look at the stats will say he's a good defender. His blocks, interceptions, tackles, they're all up there. But for me, as a fullback, if you're having to make as many tackles, last-ditch tackles, especially in the case of Freddie, as he was having to make in his first Premier League season, then it's quite telling that you're kind of letting your opponent get the better of you. And I'm not, he's a man who was signed when we were dead set for another season in the Championship. But, saying that, he's had two very good spells in France. He's arguably one of the better fullbacks in Ligue 1 last season, behind the likes of Jonathan Klaus, who has been linked with a move to every big club. So what other clubs think of Ligue 1 is clearly a lot higher than what maybe I think or other Villa fans may think in terms of quality. But I don't know. I think it's a difficult one because, if you look at the signing of Augustinsson, it's not a sexy signing whatsoever, but it's someone who's going to get the job done. And I think, again, if you're Kane Kessler, you need to be going to playing maybe not League One, but Championship football, if possible. That loan has to happen, because I think it's clear to see there is so much talent with Kessler. But again, it's about getting minutes, and he was having a good time at Swindon. Went to, I think, MK Dons, was it? And didn't play as many games, if my memory is serving me correctly. But was sort of, went to test himself again. So it'd be interesting to see what happens. I don't see Villa selling Gilbert because I don't see anybody buying him. But if he's going to be putting up, strong performances during pre-season, then listen, mate, I'm more than happy for him to be there. I think he's more than adequate for, cup competitions against lower opposition. I don't mean that in a disrespectful way, but, Cashy will need some. I think that the big criticism of Villa, if you sort of take your claret and blue tinted spectacles off, is the fullbacks are fantastic, but there's no depth there. There is no legitimate depth, and it can be a long season, especially if they're going to take competition seriously, mate. So I'm not against Gilbert staying around, but I would like to see significant improvements, and I'm hoping that the regular minutes at Strasbourg have helped. And he's somebody who I've watched a few times when Strasbourg have been playing the big games, for work. And I wouldn't say he's necessarily blown me away, but I think I'm remembering like Neymar and Mbappe just absolutely ruining him. So I think I can give him a pass on that, to be fair. But, it's a clean slate. It's a new manager. So he deserves a chance, in my opinion, mate.
Yeah, I think he's just a player that I've always very much respected his professionalism. It would be so easy for him to loathe Villa. What have we ever, like, we've treated him like it's not been great. Obviously, like, he came up into the Premier League and then it was really weird how, like, he really did, you're right, endear himself to the fans. Obviously, he's quite a swashbuckling fullback. I think you make a very good point about it, those recovery tackles and stuff like that, Meg. And that's why I think when you say that, it'd be interesting to see him under a manager that's a bit different. I think that's a great point, because I think it would be interesting to see him play in a better side, basically, than we were, and see, if he's still having to rampage back 40 yards to clean out a winger, then we know that there's probably something up there. And I will give him the benefit of the doubt in that we were pretty shoddy defensively, and obviously felt like there was a lot of rotation still for Elmer and stuff in that, and then we've sent him back out on loan, obviously to a favoured team. He seems to have really enjoyed his time at Strasbourg, but like, it doesn't seem like we've ever given him a home at Villa Park. And I just really rate that he comes back every time, and like, he's always super professional in pre-season. Never has a bad word to say about the club, and I like that attitude. And I think that I don't think we can get too emotionally attached to these kind of players, like, considering we're trying to progress. But it's one to keep an eye on for sure, mate. One to keep an eye on for sure. And I think there's a few other cases like that in the squad. But yeah, it was nice to see him get a run out. Nice to see a lot of the boys. The more I see Diego Carlos out there, I like Josh Feeney came on as well, which was another one of the younger boys that got a bit of a run out. Nice to see Morgan Sanson making a start in that midfield. Obviously, there's a lot of changes, so we saw a lot of faces, but 2 wins is good. 2 wins is good. I think Man United is going to be a real test. They've obviously looked quite good in pre-season, so I think all results must be taken with a pinch of salt. Like, if we're going to lose to United, it's far from the end of the world. But yeah, no, it's all been nice, mate. Gerrard seems really happy with the standard of pre-season. The training levels seem good. The Aussie Villa fans, obviously, will probably have a couple listening. We seem to have listeners tuning in from everywhere recently. Like, you guys are doing the most. From what I've seen, the atmosphere at games and like at different bars and pubs and stuff around Australia looks absolutely quality. There's been really good turnouts at the training events and stuff like that as well. So shout out to you guys, man. You've been really representing us well. So, mate, it all seems pretty 10 out of 10. I'd say no qualms from me in pre-season so far.
I think it's important to shout out the likes of Feeney and Ramsey, and both Ramseys, that's Aaron and JJ, for stepping up and making some appearances, especially when we were kind of the news was thrust upon us, straight from the horse's mouth the other day from the gaffer that Carney would not be in attendance. And I'm a big fan of this. I am. And for the longest time, I think it's fair to say I've maintained on the podcast, I've given Carney the benefit of the doubt for the contract situation. But at this point now, it's starting to get a little bit messy, mate. It's starting to get a little bit messy. And what concerns me is the fantastic Euros campaign that he's had, which obviously you and I, we both watched quite closely, mate. And for him to still not sign the contract proposal that's been on the table for more than a year, negotiated between 2 different sort of regimes of management, the guy doesn't want to be here. The guy, it's plain and simple. And if he does, then his demands are totally ludicrous, because I can't imagine. I mean, it's stupid to think, but surely that like Villa aren't offering any more than 30k a week, which for an 18-year-old who his best performance was away against Norwich, who are fucking abysmal, is ridiculous. They're stupid money. And the assurances of playing, we can't guarantee him that, because again, when he has played for Villa, he hasn't looked fantastic, and that is just facts. The difficult situation that we have found ourselves in here, mate, is the fact that he is quite clearly an extremely talented player and needs game time, and Villa aren't able to give him that. And again, it's what kind of a message you send if you loan this guy out. You know, you're not good enough for us. Go play minutes here. Maybe you'll get in. Like, Carney wants assurances, which I can understand, but Villa can't. We can't give him that at the moment, and it's frustrating because whatever he will find himself, mate, he will get the minutes that he deserves in his mind, and he will flourish, much like Jude Bellingham has. He will go abroad and he will absolutely boss it, and we will be going, fuck, like, because one of the most talented players of sort of his generation that are coming up right now, he will be killing it for somebody else. And where I think Villa have really shut the bed here is this £20 million valuation, because this is a guy who can negotiate with clubs in January. And should he go in January, Villa get compensation of around £300,000, or he leaves for free. The fact we have put a come get him right there with this alleged price tag, which nobody's going to pay, because, as I say, January he's yours for 300k, summer he's yours for free. And of course, that situation suits Carney and his agent quite nicely. I think we've really shut the bed by doing this, mate. I don't know what you think, but I think it weakens our negotiating position with him as well quite significantly.
Yeah, it's really interesting, like what he wants. That's game time he wants. Don't go to Barcelona. Like, what you're not going to get paid. Yeah, that's what I mean. It's like Barcelona, PSG, Man United. I swear to God, if he leaves Villa for Man United, oh my goodness, I couldn't stomach that, mate. Couldn't stomach that. It's like, I just want, like, obviously, I get the appeal of going to Barcelona. I'm not going to sit here and say that, like, the lad's head shouldn't be turned by that offer. Of course it would be. Of course it would be. Like, but it's just interesting as to what he wants. And, like, I feel for him a little bit, because JJ took his spot. If we're being totally real, like,
Did he take his spot though? Was it Carney's spot?
No, not in that sense. Not in that sense. I don't think it was like, this is Carney's for the taking, but it's like, I don't think anybody expected JJ to burst out like he did last season. Like, the progression from the season before was like otherworldly. He stepped up to a mark, and now that position is his. And that's what's made it difficult for Carney, because, like, when you've got obviously he's not going to come in and play at 6. You've then got like McGinn and still Louise is at the club. Doesn't look like he's going anywhere, and like all those guys rotating in that 8 spot, and then that other spot is JJ's. And what makes it really difficult is that we've literally just spoken about the fact that we want to try and play a 4-2-3-1. It looks like this season.
Yeah.
So that's 1 8 spot. But at least with a 4-3-3, you have 2. That's 1 8 spot, and it's difficult because it's in a deeper lying role. So it's a really difficult one, and I get why he's probably a little bit cautious as to the minutes this season. Honestly, like, if it's first team assurances he wants, I would quite happily give him Sanson's spot in the rotation, maybe even Douglas Luiz's spot in the rotation if it came selling those boys.
Really?
I would. Yeah, mate.
But here's the thing. Here's the thing, right? First of all, even if we say that, there's no indication of when he's going to sign this fucking contract. In any case, we could be without Carney and Louise by the end of the window, mate. Realistically, without another 8 in, the way things are going right now. And then that's weird. Fucking disastrous.
It's really weird, mate. It's really weird. And I just think, like, I look at the Sanson situation. We love Morgan Sanson. We want to see him. We want to see him get a fairer crack than he has. But we've both said at points, it's like, it doesn't look like it's going to happen. is like there's been so many opportunities where it's like, okay, like if he's not getting the time now, when is this going to happen? And it's like I want to see more of him. I really do, because I think there's such a good player in there. But it's like, that's what I mean. It's like I always wonder, are we not just best giving those assurances to one of our own who we want to develop? But if he's got no interest in signing this deal, mate, you're absolutely right. I think Villa played Leamington last night, and Carney was in that squad, and he wasn't involved in the game. And like we've made this stance really strong. Like if you're not going to run out against Leamington. Also, I feel so sorry for Amor El Ghazi. I just wanted to give this guy 30 seconds on the podcast, man, because like apparently, obviously, I haven't seen the game against Leamington. For anyone that has, maybe, but I've seen so many people say that like he was really professional. He played well. Like he gave it his all. He didn't he didn't sit there and seem unasked or not bothered or throwing his toys out the pram, as he would be pretty entitled to. Apparently, it was a very model performance. He was playing out there with the likes of like Brad Young and everything like that. And I do feel so sorry for the guy, because he is now like as close to unwanted property as you'll get after that loan to Everton. Yeah. And obviously, I know that he's not in Australia because I think his wife is pregnant,
heavily pregnant, apparently. Yeah.
Yeah. And so that's the reason he's not in Australia. But I do still feel for the guy, man. Like you won't be too involved this summer. It does look like we're trying to get him off the books, but like who's going to take him, man? I do feel for him. I just wanted to get a bit of time out there because he's done the most for this club. But yeah, as for Carney, yeah, me too, mate. As for Carney, to be completely not involved in that kind of game has got to be pretty tough.
He's made his bed, mate. That's the thing. And again, I don't want to be too harsh on the kid. And I feel like I have been, one of the few, I know you yourself as well, mate, who have been very sort of forgiving for the situation with Carney. And, sort of understanding, I think the majority of Villa fans will go, well, actually, get him off. I think we've been way more sort of sympathetic towards the situation and kind of hope for a more positive outcome than we seem to be getting. But yeah, for me, first of all, if it's assurances you want, then do you back yourself that much realistically? Like as you said, mate, and there's been a lot of whispering around the club as well. Jacob was never supposed to be this good. Like he wasn't. It's credit to Jacob. He's wanted it. He's got the hunger. He's got the desire. He's putting the hours in on the training ground. He's phenomenal. He's brilliant. I love that. If I'm Carney, and maybe I'm just seeing this completely differently because I'm quite clearly not a professional athlete. But if that was me, I'm going, that's going to drive me even more to want to take your position. And to try and soften the blow, mate, I know that, there's been so many talented 18-year-olds that have achieved nothing. So selfishly, from a Villa perspective, if Carney does leave, I hope he amounts to nothing, because it would hurt to see him
it really would.
in the Champions League. Especially, there was so much aggro around him signing his pro contracts at the time 2 years ago as well, mate, wasn't there? And it seemed like Bayern Munich come sniffing. So, we should have known. And, to be honest, mate, I prefer Caleb Chukwuemeka anyway. He scored so many goals in season. He's quite clearly the better Chukwuemeka.
I was going to say.
And, get him on the plane to Australia. Caleb just scores goals for fun. But guys, we'd love to know what you have to say about this situation, pre-season in general. And the number 8 spot, let us know in the comment section down below. If you've not subscribed, make sure you do. And as well, on Friday, we'll have the second episode of the Andy Gray interview series. Hopefully you guys will enjoy that as much as we have. So yeah, like, comment, subscribe, and up the Villa.